Listen now to a reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. At that time, Jesus said to his disciples, "Take heed, watch, and pray, for you do not know when the time will come. It is like a man going on a journey. When he leaves home, he puts his servants in charge, each with his work, and commands the doorkeeper to be on the watch. Watch, therefore, for you do not know when the master of the house will come, in the evening, or at midnight, or at cockcrow, or in the morning, lest he comes suddenly and finds you asleep. And what I say to you, I say to all, watch." The Gospel of the Lord. So, my niece has been in the US for 3 years, and she's coming back home on the 24th of December, and the whole family is waiting. A few days ago, she sent me a text message and said, "Daddy, it's funny that people who are not talking to me are suddenly talking to me, trying to check on me." And they said they've got some requests to make. Bring us gifts from America. And I said to her, "Are they your friends?" She said, "Well, they used to be, but we've not been talking all this time." I said, don't bring them anything." Was I mean? Was I mean? I don't know about that. You see, it's people trying to make up last minute because he's coming home. They didn't really care about her all this time during COVID and all, but taking advantage of making up last minute, making up last minute. When we were in school, we had this phrase, "Mombe haikorere pa market." Now what it means is that a cow, if you want to go sell your cow, if it's thin, it's thin. You can't wake up early in the morning and feed it and, give it everything and go and sell it for a lot of money. It's just going to be thin. Just going to be thin. So you better do things on time. Market. Start reading ahead of time before the exams come. You don't want to read the day before. That last minute rush. A master and a student were playing chess. And the student says to the master, "Master, what do you do if we hear that Jesus is coming in the next 15 minutes? The master looks at the student and says, "I'll play my next piece." And he says to the student, "What would you do?" He said, "I think I'll just rush to the chapel so that God finds me praying." And the master says, "Haven't you been praying all this time?" That feeling of inadequacy, that feeling of wanting to do things last minute, make up. We all do that. The last minute thing. Now we do that, and sometimes we do get away with it because we actually know when that event or whatever is happening. Chantel's friends are texting her now because they actually know she's coming back in December. They're working with the timeline. The problem with today's reading is that we don't know. That's the biggest problem that we have in today's gospel. You don't know. Jesus says you don't know the hour, the time, you just wait. Now that makes it very difficult for human beings. Just to wait. No building to a climax, no. Just wait, it'll just happen. He's here. That's it. Waiting is difficult. But one of the most important things in that gospel there is that the master goes away, and when he leaves the house, he doesn't leave the servants idle. It says there, he gave them work, each his own work. That's what it says. Each servant his own work. So the servants are not left there idle, just waiting when he's coming back. They've got something to do. They've got something to do. They've got responsibilities to take care of while the master is away. And therefore, the waiting for us is waiting in action. It's not just waiting idle there and just waiting for the Lord to come. It's waiting in action. Action comes from the responsibilities that we have as Christians. You can't say that I'm a Christian and then I'm not responsible for anything. I'm just there. Each was given his work to do while the master was away. Advent is that time when you take stock and say, actually, what are my responsibilities? Start with the little things. If you want to claim that you're a Christian and you belong to that house that the master left behind and gave each his work, you must ask yourself, what did the master tell me to do actually? Am I actually doing that? Am I doing that? So for me, Advent is a time to take stock, but Advent for me is always a time for a second chance. If you missed it last year, here's a second chance. How many chances do you have? How many chances do you need? How many Advents have you been to? Those who've been coming to church forever. How many? Many. Because Advent comes every year. Now, how many chances do you really need? Actually, to change. You want to wait for the one for next year? In December? Is that the one you're waiting for, those so you can really change? I'll wait for December 2024. I think I'll change then. Who gave you that timeline? Who gave you that timeline? Why are you giving yourself a timeline that you don't know about? Thinking you always have a time to change. You always have time to pray again. You always have time to forgive. You have time to give, to be generous. Where are you getting all that time from? Who's giving you that time? It says there you don't even know the time in the day. Why do people live and, they live based on assumption? They live their whole life based on an assumption that there's always tomorrow. Where are you getting that from? Who told you that? Who told you that tomorrow you'll be alive? Who told you that? Who told you that next year in December 2024 you'll be here? Who told you that? And why are you working on an assumption? We need to stop working on assumptions and put our houses in order. The master of the house went away and gave each person his work or her work to do. And Advent is time to say, actually, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to be doing? Not this last-minute rush. Waiting, therefore, for Advent for me, is waiting as a lifestyle. Changing your whole way of doing things. Changing the way you look at things in life. Changing, looking around and beginning to see different things. You need to get to a point where when you look around, your family, begin to see new people around you. Begin to see new creatures around you that you can relate in a new way. Forgive. Try to let go. It's not easy, but look around and begin to relate to these people as if you found them today. It's a hard one, but once you make the changeover, things will be actually different. Look at your daughter and say, actually, she's not what I thought. She's actually a good person. Look at your wife and say, actually, she's not what I always, yeah, she made mistakes, but actually I need to change the way I look at her. Yes, she can be angry, she can be grumpy, but actually I need to begin to see a new creature around me. Begin to change yourself as you look at yourself. Just say to yourself, am I really like this? I can be a better person. Advent is that second chance to to change things around us, to change me, to change the world as we wait for the ultimate coming of our Lord. So it's a challenge. And the first stage that we must do is to make sure that we look at ourselves first before we look at others. If we look at ourselves in a new way, we will see others in a new way. Suddenly, you look around and begin to see people, real human beings. Sometimes we brand people so much that we stop seeing them as people. They are like this, this one is like this, and that's how we relate to the world. Can we stop at some moment, at some point and say, I need to begin to see people, to be good to them, to love them, to be generous to them, to give them time, to listen to them, to let go some things, to look into the future, to bring happiness. The moment we stop and begin to look at each other as human beings, that's what I call being good servants, waiting in action, changing the world, transforming every situation that we go into. And that time is now. Advent is a time for a second chance. If you're going to ignore this Advent, I don't know why you think that you're going to do it next year. If you're going to ignore this Advent, this is Advent 2023. We've started today to lead us into Christmas. We've got a few weeks to reflect on our lives, our lifestyles. Begin to see yourself as a new being, as a new person, as a servant who is doing what he's supposed to be doing or what she is supposed to be doing. And then when you do that, when you look around, everything suddenly begins to change. I had a very interesting experience when I was in theology. We stay in communities and we appoint two people, a coordinator and the person who is in charge of buying stuff in the house, There's this guy who took over, from the previous guy to buy stuff. And after 1 month, we realized that our lifestyle had changed. There were no eggs. He wasn't buying eggs. What is he doing with the money? He wasn't even buying booze. No booze in the house. And people complaining, there's no booze in the house for the weekend to enjoy. And then more and more, the meals became smaller. And I was the coordinator then. And people came and say, you need to check the accounts. What is he doing with the money? He's giving money every month, but we're not getting anything. So I called him. I sat him down. And I said, how's your work buying stuff for the house? He says, yeah, it's okay. I was looking away. And I said, people are complaining that there are no eggs in the house. There's nothing. What are you doing? Let's see the accounts. And he stopped. And he looked at me and said, you know what? I've been paying fees for my sister. Suddenly, I saw a human being. I didn't see a thief. Suddenly, I saw a human being who was in need. And suddenly, everybody, when they heard the story, everybody said, we should help him. When you begin to see a human being, you remove all the tags. You become changed, they become changed. You transform the situation around. Advent is that second chance that we have to change, to be truly humans, followers of Christ.